Good afternoon. I call the meeting of the Davenport Park and Recreation Advisory Board in session. May we have roll call, please?
Coiner? Here. Dasso? Absent. Greenlee? Here. Who?
Here.
Kefauver? Here. Meyer?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
Powell? Absent. And Schutz and Sharif are both absent. We have a quorum.
That's wonderful. We'll start our agenda with approval of minutes of our July meeting. That was July 20th. You received the minutes. Do I hear a move for approval of those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. I hear no discussion or further questions, so I'll move for a vote of approval. Those saying approved, say yes.
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 Abstentions or no? Those minute meetings are approved. Thank you. There is no old business, but we have a great opportunity now. We have members representing Davenport Little Leagues with us in the audience, and we will have staff introduce. Thank you, Betsy.
Hi, thank you. So yes, we are pleased to have today members of our community that are volunteers, but head up leagues that are participate in baseball and softball and our Davenport Parks. So I expected a few more, but thankfully we have our district administrator here who can be a catch-all for us. He didn't know that, but he is. So we'll start with our Babe Ruth League, which is Brian Hyatt. Brian, Hetzler, sorry. And then follow up with Bill Sweeney, who is with our Davenport Challenger League. And then if none of our other leagues are able to make it, Gary will do the catch-all for the little leagues in general. So without further ado, Brian, you're up. Yep.
What was the last name again, Brian?
Hetzler, Hetzler.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm president, Davenport Babe Ruth, and up until just recently, we've only had 2 or 3 other board members in this league, and finally, after this past Sunday, every board position finally got filled. So it relieves a lot of stress on me being the go-to guy. Our league is fundamentally 13 to 15-year-old kids, boys, girls. And in the past, before it became Babe Ruth, it was Pony League. And then that was just 13 and 14-year-olds. But then Babe Ruth, or they decided to go to Babe Ruth. They added 15-year-olds to it, so forth. Excuse me. This past spring, Babe Ruth introduced that they want to bring in 16-year-olds into our 13 and 15-year-old league, which I'm not a big fan of. That's just a bit too big of a age gap. So what we're going to do this year, or this spring, is incorporate a 13 and 14-year-old league, a 15 and a 16-year-old league, and then a 16 through 18 league also, where the 15 and 16s will be allowed to play with the 18Us. So it's going to incorporate more kids, more involvement from hopefully parents to help with this league. I'm not sure what else to go with here. This past summer, being this is a rec league, we finally started dabbing into travel ball because that's where a lot of our kids have been going. Because Pony League was a big, strong environment for years, up until probably the last 10 years. Pony League has pretty much dwindled down to basically nothing. Okay. So we're the only league in town or in the area in Scott County that has kids 13 to 15. What we'd like to see from the parks is, my God, I used to have this in my head, but now I forgot it. We'd like to get at Garfield Park, especially where Babe Ruth is located, is handicapped accessibility. Because this past spring and summer, we had pretty good crowds. And really, we ran out of parking, so we ended up having to park on the grass. And a lot of people who were handicapped had to drive down to the field, unload, and then drive back up, which creates a lot of beaten paths and so forth, which makes it hard for the city to mow and keep track of. We'd like to see that. I know a couple years ago, Garfield Park was in line to get the next handicapped accessibility, but I know budget, has problems with that. I'm not sure where else to go with this. We usually get between 60 and 120 kids every year. We'd like to get more, because I'd like to expand and get bigger, because I know there's 2 other 60, 90 fields in the city of Davenport that we could utilize. But if we don't have the numbers, we can't utilize them.
Thank you, Brian. If you have anything else, that's fine. We are going to hold questions until the end.
Thank you. Keep your.
I knew I forgot.
Good afternoon, I'm Bill Swinney with the Davenport Challenger League. We're a special needs branch of Little League organization. We used to be part of East Little League, but with the help of our district administrator there, we're now our own charter, so we can control our own destiny, which has been really nice. So we had this last season, spring season, we had 124 players total. That's 8 teams and 3 divisions, so we have 3 levels of play. The age ranges from 4 years old to 61. So we don't have an upper age limit, but we do have to abide by Little League's starting age of 4 years old. We have 32 girls and 92 boys. I think our league is blessed in that we get so much support from the community. Park and Rec, Chad and Betsy, Sherry, they've been phenomenal. Little League supports us whatever we need. So the greatest challenges we ever faced all went away on September 2019 when we got the Miracle Field opened. That was just a miracle in itself to get that, and all the parents and community all comment always how great that field is, and it has been a real blessing, and we do our best to keep it up, and that's one of the biggest, I guess, things that, and I'm sure all the other leagues will say the same thing, that people don't respect, even though there's posted rules on these gates, they bring their dogs, and in our case, we don't want cleats or chewing gum and stuff, but whenever we're there, we chase them away, but there's still, big blotches of gum stuck to the field, and it's a little irritating, but I know there's probably nothing we can do about that, but it's just one of the things we face. I guess the only real thing is we play at Prairie Heights. You probably know that, and we share with Southeast Little League. So during the week, parking is a real problem. I don't know if we can find another place put a lot or not, but they park all over the place, and it gets a little crazy, but we make do and we have a great time, so, the only other thing I can think of is that I wish Betsy all the best, but that's gonna be a tough seat to fill right there. And, I just wanna thank Betsy for all she's done for us, so, thank you.
Thank you.
You too, Chad.
All right, so Gary?
Where's your last name, Gary?
Mayfield.
Mayfield?
All right. Since I am the district administrator for all of Iowa District 2, which encompasses baseball, softball, all the way to Mason City. In Davenport, we have Davenport East, Davenport North, Davenport Northwest, Davenport Southeast, Scott County softball for girls, and then we have the West Emize. Currently, West Emize and Davenport North, we combined them this year to get better participation, more volunteerism. My goal with that is to possibly have those guys go together for volunteerism reasons, and to keep the numbers bigger. There is some kind of talk of possibly Davenport East and Davenport Northwest combining. So that would take us down to 3 leagues in Davenport, if they all agree to do that. That's the big part is sometimes they don't want to do that. What am I supposed to? Numbers? Ooh. Our biggest league is Davenport Southeast. They have over 400 kids because they encompass the eastern Jersey Ridge all the way over into Bettendorf, into LeClaire. So they're at over 400 kids. Davenport East was about 150, I believe. Davenport North and Emize together, we were at 250, I think, right around there. It was like 125 from each. Northwest was at about 150. What am I leaving out? Girls softball, over the last 3 years has grown. That's probably between Southeast and softball. Softball has grown. They were at 21 teams this past season. So right at 280, 200, 300 players. So that's good. And they are also doing fall ball, which right now has 250 kids. So we didn't lose very much from fall or from spring to fall. Some improvements maybe. I would say we need dirt. I know a lot of the fields need some dirt. With it being so dry, I know at Jungie, one of the fields, the dirt's so low that the base pods are coming up. You can see the base pods. So
I think we got plenty of dirt.
out at Emize, we got dirt out at Emize.
I'll leave it out there. That's not the whole field. You're talking
Infield dirt.
Oh,
Infield dirt.
It's a different, that's a top.
What dirt you talking about? 'Cause
I'm used to all of our infields back in those days. They were all grass.
well, some of them look like grass right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry.
But yeah, Other than that, I mean, most of the leagues take care of their fields themselves. So I don't know what they need and what they expire to do. So.
All right, thank you. So in your packet, you received what is our standard letter of agreement that we sign every spring with each of the leagues. It shows what Davenport Park and Recreation's responsibilities are, as well as what the league's responsibilities are. I included a boundary map just for your information, and then as well as a separate sheet with, there was some questions about 180. That is a local nonprofit that has started a youth baseball program that has taken some kids from Little League probably, but they're a very healthy organization that serves quite a few kids. And then also just a spreadsheet there, just a table of the people that you've listened to as far as the locations of their leagues, which parks that they utilize. So at this time, I would open it up for any questions that you may have, and we will do our best to answer them. If we don't have an answer, we'll get one for you.
I had a general question. And since I know nothing about the procedures of softball, but what I was looking at in the recommendations was the bold under number 2, league responsibilities. And my question was about citizens can use the ball diamonds, I understand, but at prior to 3 p.m., if there are evening games, the fields can be locked. And my question is, how do you, or is there a way to actually present a signage or something that explains why it's locked? I think someone comes to visit and they have a whole afternoon that they're playing on the ball diamond and they come after supper or just before the game start and it's locked. And I'm going, is there a way that there's signage that says game today, come back or something like that instead of it's locked? Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that happen? That's the impression I got when I read the information.
So it happens. I will say it does happen. People get there and don't understand. We absolutely can put signage up. Everyone in my department knows I'm not a huge sign fan because people don't read them. As these guys, nobody mentioned one of their challenges is having dogs on the fields. I guess Bill did, but that is a huge challenge. That individuals allow their dogs to run off leash on the fields. It is a huge, huge challenge. So, but that's not, I'm thinking of those signs that kind of maybe flip down, that say field prepped, please stay off. Because we have one field guy that works for the city. He goes around on a peak summer day, he's got 11 fields he needs to prep for games. So it's, but it's a challenge. If he preps a field at 7 a.m., to have that field vacant then all day so it looks good for when the kids come, at night. So there's that balancing act, but a sign is always a possibility.
Well, would there be one distinct opening where people would see game today, da-da, come back, or something like that?
There's multiple entry points to each of the fields, either through outfield fences or through the dugouts, so.
Well, that was just my thought as
No.
it came up for a non-user, but it certainly would be something to help support, in a positive way. Yeah.
When they see that the field is chopped, they don't go on. At least from where I've been at.
Okay, that's good to know.
I've had people jump the fence and get on the field.
To play. So barbed wire doesn't work.
And
Well-
there was a couple times this past spring where the field was chalked and so forth, and I get there at 4 o'clock and the people are out there playing on it. So now I have to stop what I'm doing and go redo the field just to get ready for those games at 5:30.
Wow. Those are great challenges you have with all the numbers. I'm just amazed at all the numbers and wow. So thanks for those comments. others. Jerry?
First of all, what I'd like to ask, and what I heard from, I think, Brian, you had mentioned that you wanted to have another field like what Bill has, disability field down in the southeast. Is that what did I hear you say that? Oh,
Accessible.
oh, it's just accessible. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, because I was kind of wondering, because the next question was, Bill, has that all that program out there? Yeah, it's a pretty good program out there. Okay, the first thing that I'd like to ask is probably starting this. I mean, I've seen where the travel teams are just taking all kinds of. They take all the good kids, and here's all these other kids that are not playing. And eventually, what happens? They get disinterested and I don't even want anything to do with it anymore. So they don't. So there's probably a lot of kids out there, even and especially out in Emi's in that area, that are not even thinking about playing baseball. And here we are, we're sitting out there with 3 perfectly good diamonds out there, 4 perfectly good diamonds out there, and we're not utilizing them at all. And I can't believe that there's not enough kids that are not be able to go in there and have teams. I mean, I'm going back years ago when everybody had kids. I know younger people don't have kids anymore as much as we did back in those days, I guess. And I don't want to get into that, but then all of a sudden you got husband and wife both working and they don't participate. All they want to do is send their kids off to someplace to have babysit by a manager or whatever. And I'm aware of that too as well. So somehow or another, I can't believe that we can't come up with more kids. And I've heard you say that, you know, the numbers that you have, and I'll be honest with you, compared back then, and I probably shouldn't even do a comparison, but it's not even close to what we used to have. And you've probably been there, I would imagine, everybody has. So what I'd like to see is what we could do to find out, and that's by going to the schools. I mean, that's where you start at those grade levels, whether it's in the grade schools or the middle schools. And if you get into Pony League or Colt League where it used to be, I mean, all of a sudden now you've got high school kids playing. And there used to be a lot of them in each one of those. And then all of a sudden West High School started their programs running all over the country, and that pulled a lot of kids. And then there's that other group that over in Illinois that pulled a lot of kids out of here. So, and I don't know whether you have conversations with those groups or not, where we could utilize some of those kids to play in our little leagues too as well.
What I've noticed with high schools, we're the only state, I guess, in the country that has high school baseball in the summer, where everybody else plays in the spring. So we have a hard time getting those high school players into our 14, 15, 16-year-old range because there's not enough time for them to play both.
Okay.
If, you know, the rest of the kids I got in my 18U are kids that don't want to play high school baseball. They just don't like the politics. They don't like the 7 days a week practices, and, you know, stuff like that. My 13 and 14-year-old group, high schools are taking a lot of my 14-year-olds as 8th graders up into the freshmen. The last name Central took the average on adult, dozen the last 3 years. West finally took about 6 or 7 this year, and North took about 3 or 4. So, I mean, that's 20, 25 kids out of my league that's already got 75 kids in it. I mean, that's another 2 teams I could at least manage to have if high schools wouldn't take my players. I shouldn't say, I want those kids to play high school eventually, but not as an 8th grader. Granted, there's going to be some kids that are going to be, you know, the greatest athlete in the world as an 8th grader, if I could see that. You know, the one once-in-a-lifetime kid moving up. But when they're taking that many kids, it's hard for us as a league to actually get these kids that are bad, or I should say bad, that's kind of a bad word, but playing against better kids, so that way they can work their way up.
Well, you know, it teaches those kids how to play baseball, playing with those kids. And they should be able to be playing with them.
But we're not able to.
Because their coaches are not letting them do that.
And they've already said, I don't want you playing Babe Ruth.
I don't want to take a lot of everybody's time here because I could sit and talk to you for hours. So I'd like to have your phone numbers if I can. I'd like to get more and more involved in it because I honestly think there isn't any reason why we can't, well, the 180 programs that you have, and there's a lot of kids involved with that, I understand. Am I correct, Betsy?
That information's in your packet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kids in that programs. I mean, that's getting kids involved in baseball that they want to do something. If you get them in there, they'll play the rest of the time. But you got to have parents do it, sure.
Yeah, some of that is volunteerism. And right now, we're not getting a lot of volunteers. And the ones that we do get, they're great, but we're burning them out because they're doing
Everything.
4, 5, 6 jobs for us.
Yeah. So I guess what you need to do is have a roundtable sometime and sit down and say, oh, well, let's try this once and have a direction maybe of what we could do to grow that system from the start. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you guys willing to do that?
Always, anytime we offer.
Because I'll sit in on it.
Our account, that'd be great.
And then maybe we could go to the schools and, I mean, that's where you get the kids. Because I think there's a lot of kids that are not playing that could play or would like to play.
A couple of years ago, I was trying to get a flyer sent to the schools, middle schools especially. But I had to go through the district and get it okayed. So what they did before they sent it up to the middle schools, they okayed it, and instead of putting it up on the bulletin boards, they put it on the kids' Chromebooks. How many parents are going to look at these flyers and kids' Chromebooks? Not very many.
Yeah.
That right there, Dan knows all about that.
Sure do. We actually do put the flyers out there.
Yep. Okay.
I'm the president of North Little League, but I'm also the president of the Davenport School Board.
Oh, okay.
And I apologize for being late. My kids had to unpack your backpack, and all of my board members did too, because we got it.
Hey, Dan, would you mind coming up to the podium real quick and
Yeah.
just give it an overview?
Introduce
Because
yourself, yeah.
I think you would probably, along with Gary, have the most insight on West and North and how that's working, because I think a lot of Jerry's concerns is basically the state of what West Emice Little League. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
What is your last name, Dan?
GOSA, G-O-S-A.
Oh,
If you ever open,
now I know who you are.
Yeah, you ever open a newspaper, I'm that guy.
Okay, now, okay. I'm with you now.
I am the president of North Little League, and actually this past season, for a few years, I've helped out West Emice Little League as well, because they haven't been able to get volunteers and things like that. So this year, our board ran their league, but we did all the games at we did all of the games at our park. And we used those fields for practices and things like that. And one of our biggest hurdles is the Quad City Heat organization. They think that they're entitled to everybody's fields. They tell us that they have a bank of money that they can rent our fields that they've had through Parks and Recs, which I know that's inaccurate because Betsy and I have talked about that multiple times. And when they come out and utilize the facilities, they trash them. They leave trash in our dugouts and everything like that.
I know they do.
I mean, it's a money ball thing, and I get that, but at the end of the day, for us, we fertilize our own fields, we mow our own fields, we take care of everything, so you all don't have to. We have our own bathrooms and stuff, but we do get the 2 porta potties, which helps out a lot when you get an influx of folks. So basically, we wound up absorbing a league, and it cost us a lot more money because we had to get new equipment and things like that. Baseballs I think I spent $1,000 in baseballs. I spent probably $2,500 in new catcher's gear and things like that. But then we also have to find money for players that can't afford to play, because we never turn a kid away. I don't turn our signups off the whole season, and we'll get kids that come in all the time. And I work with the family involvement liaisons at the schools. And actually, to be real honest with you, 180 is a hindrance on us as well. That takes kids away from us. We're already a structured program with, actual coaches that do, and I'm not knocking their program by any means, but we could take those kids and find, funds for that. I do the CIP grant from the city. I ask for that every year to get help. T-Mobile offers grants to help pay for players, but this year that money was exhausted in like January. As soon as we were having our signups here, that money was gone. But, we're in the Midwest, so we can't start till later. I'm trying to think of what else.
Have you talked to aldermen about that?
Oh, all the time. All the time. All the time.
Didn't we get $40 million?
You're referring to ARPA funds?
Not for us, but there was, yes.
Yes, the city did.
Isn't that what that's for?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I'm not certain it can be used for registrations for baseball.
Well, it enhances the kids of our city.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't know if the
Yeah.
parameters of that funding
Yeah,
allows for
I
that,
understand.
Jerry. I'll have to get back to you.
Now, a couple years back, we did get some money to extend one of our fields so we could offer more play times. But at our park, we're very limited because we're the only Little League without lights in the city. So we hosted the 9U state tournament, and there was a couple times I thought we were going to have to bring vehicles along the back fence, the outfield fence, and turn the headlights on so we could finish the games. And it's nice for the other parks because then at least if you give kids something to do, they're not out doing all the other things that they shouldn't be doing. And I mean, we'll have kids that will hang out at our park that, they might get in a little bit of trouble, but if we're up there, we'll have them come and help us, hop on a mower, mow the field or whatever. If you can get them involved and bring them to the table, they're like one of your biggest assets. I've had kids that, I've been the president for 9 or 10 years now. So it's nice to see that, and then we'll have some that'll want to come back and help coach and things like that. But like Gary said, it is very hard getting volunteers now, very hard. People don't like to step up. It's a lot of extra ask of you and things like that. And then, thankfully we have outfield fences that we can actually lock our outfields up because we've had people steal cars, drive, do donuts on our infield, crash the porta potties. People think they can ride their dirt bikes on it, their four-wheelers and stuff. And I don't think that people understand the amount of time and money that goes into this stuff. And granted, the city does, provide ag lime and the chalk and things, and that helps a lot with a lot of the costs. So I could go on all day.
Sure.
I would love to have the round table thing. And like I said, we do in our area, we do go into the schools and try to talk to them to get those kids, because there's a lot of kids with a lot of potential that I don't think they realize that we can find the money to get them to be able to play. Money's a huge issue sometimes, and then we work with some other organizations to help provide. We've written grants to Little League. We have team baseball bats, we have helmets and things like that. We try to meet their needs and get them what they need to be able to play, so.
I have, you have a question, but we have two other panel members with questions. I don't know if it's specifically.
sorry.
No, I think the roundtable we have. If you don't mind, we'll hear from two others and then we can look and see if their questions are also ones for whom. Let's move that on. Farah? First.
So I do have a couple of questions. Dan, is probably going to be for you, if you could answer these. So I know you said that the nonprofit program was kind of a hindrance on you guys with some of the kids that could come into your program. Have you guys looked at sitting down with them. I have an obsession with kind of resolutions. Have you looked at sitting down with them and letting them get the beginner kickoff for the kids, teaching them the basics, doing those things, and then those kids have a goal of you get to a certain point here, then you get to go on, and that can help set some foundation, some partnership, and utilize some nonprofit potential dollars in that direction. So that is one question. Another one is, with the huge amount of kids now going to college for either sports management, for they were coaching, athletic training, whatever it may be, is that something you could potentially do, reach out to colleges and see about partnering with them to fulfill something during the summer for your volunteer projects? I mean, I was just thinking kind of outside the box. These kids don't like to quit sports. I have one. So yeah. So that was two of the questions I have.
Your first question, yes, multiple times. Yeah, multiple times.
Okay.
Just nothing ever went anywhere from it.
Okay.
Your second question, we utilize a lot of those for umpires. We do ask them about coming back and coaching. We also work with our high school coaches to put on like a coaching clinic for our coaches. And then for us, every year before the season starts, we have a coaches meeting. We go over chalking the fields, setting up the mound, working on pitching with the kids, batting, and just different things to work through for their practices and things like that.
I was wondering if maybe if you got with the colleges to get like a credit, a co-op, internships, a lot of them need those for their resumes, and see what potential could be there, was kind of what I was thinking. And then I had a chance just, not really a question, but to everybody, I had a chance to attend 3 of the 9U state championship games. I have not been to a child's baseball game in a million years. And what I noticed, it was at Ridgeview Park, where, like you said, turn the headlights on, the cars were already lined up. There's permit parking on one side. The parking was just horrible, where there's so much grass that you spend time cutting, fertilizing, and you end up, half the people ended up having to park up there anyway. So I wonder if that could be opportunity, as well as it was a nice layout. Don't get me wrong, I came 3 games, but shade. And yes, we know it's kind of part of the baseball thing, but even when there's gonna be a state championship to draw people in, those locations, the playground is roughly a elementary school playground. There's 0 shade, but if we had temporary shades that we could put up for that to help draw people in, we like going when they have games there, they're shaded, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to throw that out there, so.
Thank you. Those are good comments. And I noticed some notes and head shaking. So let's move on to Anthony. Question?
Well, I just wanted to first off say thank you to you guys for the time that you put into this program. I've worked with Gary before, and I know the countless hours that he puts in, and it means a lot to the kids in the community. I don't know, I'm a little bit scared with the way that youth sports is trending, and I know everything ebbs and flows a little bit back and forth. I certainly hope that kids will come back to our leagues, but I think it's a testament to you guys that we're just continuing to provide quality programming, that the kids, if they have a good experience, you're going to get some natural marketing that way, right? And they're going to bring their friends. So you guys providing those relationships, the coaches, I just wanted to say thanks, and continue the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Other additional comments? Krista?
Or Farrah, you were saying one day that we were talking about adult baseball and how it could bring adult games, kids back into the field. And I thought that was a really good comment that day. Because if I had kids and I was going out with my friends, I'd want them to go and hang out and play baseball over there. So that was just food for thought she mentioned.
Linda?
Yes, and thank you for all your work. I'm sure that you're very helpful to a lot of kids out there. Does anybody have any person or volunteer that can do social media that you could get out there and promote through Facebook?
We have Facebook pages.
Have they been working?
I know Dan and I are going to petition Little League, the Central Region,
Okay.
to possibly make it bigger for us, because we're feeling that if we promote it more, or if they can promote it like they do their Little League World Series, we may get those kids. We've had 6 teams from this area make it to the World Series.
Yeah.
In the last 20 years. So that was our plan, to try to get more tarp for it.
Okay. Is there anybody at city can help them with social media? Is that a possibility? I mean, I'm trying to get it to promote Morris and help you out and do it that way.
Yeah, we can share out partner information.
And then do you have a list of volunteer opportunities that maybe, people can do to help you out? Okay, because I'd like to see that, whether it's mowing or whatever you need. The other thing is that how much do you need for those kids who cannot come up with the funds? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Is it?
So, just this last season, I wrote one for $2,500, and that helped out some of the kids, but that was through the CIP program from the city. I've also hit the Rotary.
I was going to say, get Rotary, get Kiwanis.
Yep, I've done those.
And you need to talk with me because I am president of the Kiwanis Club here in Davenport.
Okay.
I'll get you the grant application.
Perfect, thank you. And I've also, surprisingly enough, 180 has actually sponsored a couple kids too.
Oh, good. So, finding these organizations out there, they may not be able to give you 20,000, but, if you can get a couple thousand from them, or 1,000,
Every little bit helps.
helps, right. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Chris?
I have a couple quick questions more for staff. As far as the Garfield, accessibility, I assume that just means sidewalks to all the fields, is that in the plans for the long term or the short term?
It's actually funded this fiscal year. So design is in progress now, and we should see construction spring. Maybe.
That sounds good. And then I see it's kind of optional on how much each league does as far as their own mowing or their own chalking. Do most of them utilize the city for that, or my son plays for East, but I haven't gotten involved in the field maintenance side of it as far as volunteering yet.
I don't have that number in front of me, but I'd guess it's 50-50.
Okay.
Know that any grass infield is strictly the league's responsibility. The leagues have all installed those through fundraising efforts on their own, and they do maintain those grass infields.
Okay. And then my final thing was just, I've already suggested this a few months ago or whatever, when the next recreation guide goes out that talks about all the different things in Davenport you can do as far as junior achievement and the city programs and all, I suggested they mention Little League, and they could mention 180 as well, or whoever wanted, but just because there was not much in there for above the youth sports that the city provides, it didn't refer to how you can participate in youth baseball in Davenport in the city parks, and I feel like it should refer people to Little League if it can.
Yeah, comment?
There was a lot of 13 and 14-year-old parents that didn't even know what Babe Ruth is, our league is. So that would be great if we can get some kind of literature on anything, for any league, really. And advertising would be great.
That's wonderful. I'm just listening to all that has been commented upon and possibilities, and we have heard about, media pieces, lots of heads for the roundtable concept, funding opportunities, it goes on. So all I have to say for myself is it's been greatly expanded with what has been contributed here. Are there other comments for staff that we would like before we move on? Are we ready to move on with that?
Before anyone leaves, I'd like to have phone numbers, please.
He's been busy with that. So Jerry, that's great that you want to participate and maybe get something started.
Well, we can sit and talk about it, but if we don't do anything about it, nothing's going to happen. That's simple.
Jerry, I have those phone numbers. I can get those to
Yeah,
you.
okay. I mean, I had 4 kids go through that, all through the whole system, all through high school and even in the colleges. So they did really well, and we had a lot of fun doing that. And I coached for years myself out west, out at Imais. And I played kids whether they knew how to play or whether they didn't know how to play. And it works. So we just need to have a good program, not only for the minors, the majors, the pony league, the colt league, and all the other ones that are involved with that. And it all comes down to an age group. So there isn't any reason why we can't put something together and be able to utilize the whole city of Davenport. I remember doing city leagues, and we just had a great time doing that. And those kids loved that when they went from one group to another to play another side of the town to do that for city tournament. It just really makes a big difference. So we need to emphasize that and get parents, more parents involved. And I know they both work. I mean, we worked, but we still took the time for your kids to do that. So we need to somehow or another convince that. So if I can get those phone numbers, I'd like to sit down with you guys if I can. Thanks.
Thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge and energy toward baseball for youth. And so we'll see you. Hopefully, I've been to Miracle Field games, but I haven't been to any of the others. But yes, sir. Oh, great. Thank you. Well, we've got some supporters here in the advisory board. So thank you again.
Oh, okay, yeah. Article 3, huh?
Yes. Jerry, in advisory time in the future, keep us posted on your interest in what's going on with the roundtable possibility. We all heard from it. I'm interested in making sure we hear from you in the future about how that might proceed. Great, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the nomination process for officers for the coming year. And you received in your packet the descriptions of the positions, clearly stated, and they're in your packet again. And we would like to, at this time, talk about your interest after you've read this, your interest in one of those positions that are stated. So what I would say is now is our time to indicate our interest as an advisory board member in those positions. And so we can state in a couple of ways. For example, we heard from Mike Schertz via internet. He's not here today. He's celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary, and congrats to him. He's pretty excited about that. But Mike indicated interest in continuing as vice chair, and if there is vacancy, chair. And so that is what we have. So we would add those to his interest in those positions. Andrew Danico, no, it's not, Dasso, yes, wrong name, did indicate he's interested in any of the positions. And Arsal also knew is happy to fill any spot. So those are comments for persons regarding those particular positions. For other things, my interest is definitely in continuing as chair in the coming year, and I wanted to state that. Speak up now. Yes.
I'm still interested in staying the Riverfront liaison. I've had it, I think, for a year and a half now. I'm certainly open to someone else taking over if they want to pick up an extra meeting a month. But I am still certainly willing to do it, and I enjoy that role.
Good. Other comments? I've not heard any statement of, yes, Jerry.
I'd like to nominate Wendy Peterson to continue to be the chairman of the advisory board. Yeah, get it out of my mouth. Please, thank you.
Yeah. That is.
I have that trouble with that every time, don't I?
Yeah.
It's the most important part, man.
There is a nomination and a second for, Krista said, second for that? Okay. We haven't heard anything about the board member before we start with nominations or continue with that. For secretary, we have two persons that indicated interest in any position or also any. So, or anyone else who's here in the secretary position. Do I hear nominations or indications? I'll list Andrew and Arsal as possibilities at this point.
Could we just nominate both of them and then determine at next month's meeting?
Yes, we can have multiple nominations for each position. At next month's meeting, we will do a discussion and then officially vote, and we make the decision then. So,
okay. Other individuals here wishing to have the experience of board leadership. Well,
Does someone need to speak up if they decided that they would like to have one of these positions that are here?
that is what we would like to have happen. So is there interest in that? We have any position interest via email, so I think we'll, at this point, leave it with Andrew and Arsal in secretary position, or they could be listed in any other position. So we could add them to any position through nomination.
Well, I mean, I'll nominate Andrew Dasso for secretary position pending a vote next month.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Am I able to do a nomination? Well, I will nominate Mike for the position of vice chair that he's expressed.
I'll second.
No, there's no voting. We just need to get the slate ready. And I would, nominate Chris for continuation on the Riverfront Commission. There's a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Other nominations at this time?
Who was the other one that was interested in secretary?
Arsal.
I'll nominate Ursula for secretary.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? We have the positions set up with nominations at this point, but as Jessica said, next month will be the official voting or any other additions to the slate. Correct? Right. Thank you for your interest and participation in one way or another in regard to that. Following item is staff reports, and you received that via mail. Comments? I will just make a comment since the minutes are in our hands, but for those who might be watching our video presentation, I said great to AmeriCorps program being recognized by Davenport Community Schools for their summer outreach program, and that was at their August board meeting. I think that's great. A question about golf. Just the question, how is recruitment of committee members going with the fundraising opportunities? How's that going? You know, I think we want that to happen, so.
It's going well.
Going
We
well.
actually have our initial committee kickoff meeting next Thursday. So I'll have more information next month.
Great. Anything else? Okay. Shall we move on to your report, Chris? That's Riverfront Improvement Commission.
A verbal report from the director, or no?
Oh, well,
I thought I was getting off the hook.
I'm sorry, I'm just moving along, so to speak. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Hey, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
I don't have a lot to report, just a couple quick updates. Main Street Landing, our consultant team from Sasaki will be in town this weekend to do the third wave of public engagement. So if you're out and about at any of these events this weekend, be sure to seek them out if you want to update or give comment or feedback on the Main Street Landing park development. They will be at the Quad City River Bandits game Friday night for City Night. They'll have a table there. They will be at the Farmers Market on Saturday. They will be at February Fun Days on Saturday, and they will be at various spots with alternating currents on Saturday. So this is an opportunity to get a wide range of public comment and feedback on that project. So we're excited to have them come to town. So if you're out and about at any of those, please seek them out and talk to them. That'd be appreciated. As a reminder, September meeting, we are doing our annual fall tour. If the staff and I have been working on some potential site stops, but if there's anything in particular you guys would like to see while we're out, please email me or Jessica sometime within the next 2 weeks so we can get that tour lineup finalized. And then lastly, at the October board meeting, we'll be doing, that's usually the one I generally spend time going over budget and giving you guys an update on operations and CIP, because that's when we kick off our budget process for the city. So for October, look for a presentation on budget and capital.
Thank you. I apologize. Yeah, Jerry.
Just a comment on the tour. I think it'd be a good idea. Maybe we can't do it this time, maybe the next time. But since we are in the process of maybe possibly building a new golf club, I'd like to have somebody come out and have everybody come out and just kind of tour the ones that we have and look at what we have and what we could do.
We could probably work potentially E-Mice, since that's the clubhouse we're looking at anyway, into a stop, because some of the, couple of stops we're at least thinking about would be, help me out. What do we talk about? E-Mice, because we have ARPA improvements at E-Mice, so we'll already be near the
already
golf
be there.
course. Vanderveer, just to show you some improvements there. Fairmont Community Center, we planned on driving by there since that'll be a new park asset. And then Gaiman, it's a park we've never really toured, but it has a new playground. And we thought it'd be a nice opportunity to give you an example of what a pocket or neighborhood park, how it functions. So those are some initial ones last year we spent a lot of time on the riverfront, if you remember, and then around Rosie and Harbor Road. So a little bit northwest this time, but any other ideas are welcome. But I think, we could probably make a quick stop into the clubhouse so you can see what we're fundraising for.
Good.
Great. Well, I apologize for zooming on, yes. Chris, now it's your turn.
Part of the reason I pointed that out is because I was kind of frantically looking through my emails. There hasn't been, because of the way Riverfront Improvement Commission moved their meeting last month, they haven't actually met since our last meeting, but they have been keeping us updated with some email updates kind of on a weekly basis from the engagement coordinator, Stephanie Bly. One of the things that's pretty nailed down is the ribbon cutting on September 10th at 8 a.m. for the American Serenade, which is one of the newest cruise ships. I think it will have stopped here before that, but that's when they're doing the official kind of welcome for this new boat to the Quad Cities. And then it seems like, after much discussion, the boat dock situation has been figured out with preference towards adding docks at Credit Island back there, but it seems like we'll get more of an update at our next meeting. So I don't have much since we haven't actually had a meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, advisory time. Yeah, Chair.
I just have a question for Chris or Chad. For all that whole area along the riverfront, do we know what the expense of keeping that mowing, cleaning, picking it up, and who's going to do that? And as far as
You're
the
talking about-
maintenance of that whole park area?
Talking about
down-
Main Street Landing.
Yeah.
So we're working through that, obviously, until the actual final design is really met. We won't know our obligations until we can react to that, but it will have some additional cost to the department, that's clear. And it will be our responsibility to maintain, so.
So the Riverfront Commission won't have any responsibility for that?
Not from a maintenance
Not
standpoint.
from the maintenance side? It all comes through the park system?
Yep.
So we can come up with a number then, probably?
We're working through that.
Okay. All right.
Until the final design is complete,
Yeah.
because it's still in flux. So things could change, like if a water feature is added, that would require a different cost compared to, say, Picnic Grove that is passive. So we have some preliminary ideas, but nothing I'm ready to share at this point.
Okay, thank you.
I think about this and back to the conference, and what came up many, many times was when we have a project, we need to have sustainability built in. In other words, the coverage of expenses to maintain it at highest quality is tantamount in budgeting or accepting the amendments, the amendments that are being added, amenities, I should say, not amendments, amenities. And the word was, it takes more money in the long run when it's allowed to become, torn, not, the word I want to say, not maintained.
Dilapidated.
Huh?
Dilapidated.
Et cetera, is the issue, how do you maintain? So that's a hard one for us. I see it as a real issue if we don't have funds set up to extend the staff that we need to make that continue to look magnificent. So that's startling to me. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So this is just more, just discussion regarding my visit over the weekend, which I've been multiple times to Fedge, but this is the first time I actually went into like the learning center area. Amazing. I loved it. If you haven't been, definitely go. My older kids were with me, older that they would not be in there. Oh, and they enjoyed it. A couple things that I was looking for in there that I think would be huge improvement. A water fountain, like one of the step ones that's a little lower for the kids. Otherwise, it's fenced in. I know it closes at 6 o'clock, so it would be protected. You have to go across to those bathrooms and benches. There's very few places, even lily pad, toadstool, whatever, something a little fun where parents are sitting there like the water feature. Kids, my little grand guy, he loves the water feature, and getting him away is difficult. So I'm standing and rocking foot to let's go. I thought that's something that would be nice. And one thing that I sat back and watched for a while from across the street, and I want to bring recognition to, is I believe Donnie. He's located there, and he was working just like nothing else, and engaging as people walked past. He was nice. No clue who I was, so I watched for a while, and then I went in. And he's, informative, knows that place up and down, friendly. If a bonus, a raise, something, he definitely deserves it. He is the nicest guy, and he takes pride in that place. Every plant, he told me, I laid these bricks. That is his little world there, and I wanted to definitely point him out. I think when I was looking for the water fountain, I think it's good that there's certain people who is kind of their location to engage with them when we visit to find out, what is this place really missing? Because we always talk about these large scale projects, of course, but sometimes those little things for, us average people as well that are handy, that aren't multi-million dollars. The last thing I was curious about, my mom brought it to me yesterday when we were up there again. She says, why don't they have electricity in the small one? It's by the bathroom. She's like, I have to go walk, and she's not got the best body since she's aged, and so she's limping away all the way from the big one down to the little one. And then I'm looking at my sister's party size, little grouping. They should have been in a smaller one. You'll have people reserve them, and it's 5 people, or people already there, and it's only 5 because it's the only one with the electricity. So how difficult is it? I seen there's a light pole right there. I looked. Just a thought.
Yeah, we can look into that. We do have only 2 shelters in their system that have power. And when people call to reserve, we ask them more if their group is going to be too big, because if you call and say, I'm going to have a family reunion and I'm expecting 200, we're going to, move suggest a different location. We don't ask, if they say they never tell us they're only gonna have 5.
Right, of course, because then otherwise they have to share or potentially, or no? Oh,
No,
I
we only
didn't know.
reserve to one group
To
per
one
day,
group
per
at a
shelter.
time.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay.
But yeah, we can look into the power situation.
Okay, but can we have the water fountain in the learning
I
thing first?
I will ask my staff what it would take to do that.
All right, thank you. Oh, I did have one other question. I seen there's horses in the back, and I'm a horse person, and I'm trying to catch glimpses, and I know it's a separate thing, but how do we support it? Do we support it? What is, I know it's a rehab, and she kind of does her own thing, but.
Yeah, so we have a letter of agreement with Juan Diaz Rancheros. I believe they have updated their name, Abundant Life, maybe. I'm sorry, I don't know their name. But Michelle Allison is an amazing horse trainer, and she works with the Davenport schools for kids that have various horse therapy. Yeah, works with Davenport schools for kids that have experienced trauma, because horses can reflect the emotions. I always tell Michelle after I hear her present that I want to volunteer, even though I really don't like horses. But she's just so passionate about what she does and has just fantastic success stories. So our support for her organization is providing that land.
Okay.
She does improvements, we don't really cross that fence. She has put new roofs on buildings that are city-owned, things like that. So it's been a great partnership.
I think I'd like to see them more. That's just me. I was peeking through the bushes. I'm like, hey, versus, a clearing, because there's so many kids. My daughter rides, I ride, but there's so many kids that they feel that they're only out on farms, and we're here in Iowa, but, they didn't, so, okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Could we at least give some contact information that we'd all be familiarized with it? I mean.
Sure, I can reach out to Michelle
Yeah.
and find out what her volunteer opportunities are. She's a nonprofit, so I'm sure she's looking for volunteers as well. And yeah, if you're already comfortable around horses, that's a step in the right direction.
Krista?
I think one of the main things that I wanted to talk on was something I mentioned when I started the committee that I see in a lot of other states that I don't see here, and that's an app for volunteering that, kind of like what is this Currents thing that's going around? They have this app, right? So, this time during winter or whatever, no one's using the app because they're not getting out, et cetera. And I just think it would be amazing to have that opportunity.
Good.
This is actually something, I'm going to speak kind of on behalf of Teresa tonight. She has been working with Becca Eastman, who is our AmeriCorps manager, and another AmeriCorps member who has been with us for a couple seasons on developing a platform where people can better centralize all of our volunteer opportunities. And we are actually, you'll see it listed in the Fall Winter Rec Guide that's getting ready to go be published. And it is a brand new link. It's through the United Way. And we have our own Davenport Parks and Recreation page on their platform. The website itself is a centralized place for organizations to post any volunteer opportunities. And so staff has been working to put together all of the volunteer opportunities that we have for our department, whether it's cleanup projects, helping out as coaching for any of our sports leagues, or in our sports programs. Junior theater has some volunteer opportunities. We'll list some of our AmeriCorps recruitments through there as well. And so we are going to be pushing, and we're redeveloping our website to have it link over with more details. So we have something that's a little bit more of a formal volunteer program now. So we are working towards that.
I want to mention, because last time I was in Florida, I just kept hearing, they're like, it's that time of year where we're getting the volunteers up for all the parks and the invasives and some plantings. And I was looking at it and I was like, these are specialists that are coming from, because they're so excited to come into the city. and to be a part of it. And I just thought that was amazing, that they were these specialists, like one was like an orchid specialist. She's like, oh, I have my own section in the park that I maintain, and I just do it occasionally. And these people are really proud to do it. So I just wanted to, that's amazing. I'm glad that we're getting on that.
And then Taylor Schneider, our environmental educator,
Yeah, educator, yeah, she's great.
she's really been stepping up her connections in the community with other nonprofits and other conservation groups to start developing programs and more volunteer opportunities. And she's doing more pop-up cleanup days. We've done a couple along the Duck Creek Trail. And so her whole section is starting to get some legs on it now, so.
She seems amazing. It's great news.
We are at the point where we need to move on because some of us are going to do Party in the Park, and that started 15 minutes ago. Other comments
Sorry,
before we close?
Yeah, Becca just reminded me. So next Wednesday at 4 p.m., we haven't put this out to the public yet, but we will be doing a ceremonial opening of the inclusive swing at Vanderveer. The We Go Swing will be complete. So you're more than welcome to come out. It'll just be a small ribbon cutting dedication. We'll have Gloria Cypress and her son Gabe, who were the original fundraisers for the project. They will be on hand to welcome the dedication of the swing. So if you're available, 4 o'clock next Wednesday, Vanderveer Park.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
Would you send out a reminder about that to us? Okay.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make, so moved.
A second? Great. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn our meeting today. Signify by saying aye. If you approve. Yeah, thank you. I think everybody is ready to go to Party in the Park or elsewhere. So enjoy the beautiful weather. I'm thinking about next Wednesday, it will be what? 104 feels like day, but so bring an umbrella. There's lots of shade now, though. We'll be good. We'll be cool. See you there, hopefully.
The weather could be wrong, too.